Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to the new year. I thought that I would roll in the new year by just making a sort of wool-gathering chatty check-in video about my plans for the new year. So here we are. I'm going to talk about several things. Let's get into it. So first off, I just want to note that my channel has almost reached 2,000 subscribers. I'm now sitting at just over 1,900 subscribers, and I'm just really excited about that, so I just wanted to mention it. I think getting to 2,000 subscribers in the year of 2022 is totally doable. I mean, it's only less than 100 subscribers that I would need, and it's a whole year to do it, so I think it's very, very doable. Obviously, I don't fixate that much on subscriber counts, my own or other people's, but it is just an exciting accomplishment. You know, obviously, there are a lot of other things that are what make this whole endeavor worthwhile, but it's just satisfying to be so close to that milestone. And I will be doing something to commemorate it when it happens, and you'll all hear about that when I come up with what I'm going to do and when it actually happens. So look out for that. It might be a giveaway. It might be something like the Satolathon that I did a couple years ago when I got to 1,500 subscribers. I did the Satolathon where I read 200 pages a day for a whole week while I was on Thanksgiving break, and that was a lot of fun, and I vlogged the whole thing. But I'm not sure what I'll do. I'll do something, and you'll obviously all hear about it because I'll make a video. But anyway, I just want to start by noting that. I think it's exciting. So there's that. So I'm going to divide the rest of this video into two parts. One is about projects that involve basically only me, my reading, or my channel. And then the second part will be about projects or events that involve other people. So the biggest personal project that I have for myself this year is that I am going to be reading only fiction in 2022. Fiction defined kind of broadly to include plays, narrative and epic poems, and like sagas, those sorts of genres that aren't novels really, but that are made up stories, at least ostensibly. And then obviously novels and short stories. And I'm doing this just because I felt like my reading life needed a little jolt, needed a little shot in the arm for some reason. And that just seemed like an interesting way for me to make some kind of a radical change for my reading life just for 1 year and to see what it does. Another reason that I'm doing it is because I think I am a little bit underread in fiction. I think I am more at home in nonfiction. Nonfiction feels like my natural habitat. I feel like I'm a better critic of nonfiction books. I think in many ways I enjoy reading nonfiction more than fiction. I think nonfiction... It's interesting because when so many people talk about being daunted by nonfiction or intimidated by nonfiction, they often are worried that it will either be tedious or that it will be difficult. And that's just interesting to me because I actually find nonfiction easier to read than fiction. I think fiction, because of its literary qualities, because good fiction at least is usually doing something with language that some nonfiction does, but not necessarily a lot of it. I think fiction just takes a little bit more digesting to wrap your head around, and I don't think I'm very good at that. And so this is a way for me to just sort of throw myself in the deep end of fiction and try to sort of teach myself how to read fiction a little bit better by reading nothing but it for an entire year. So I'm doing that this year. There are a few exceptions. One of the exceptions is for an event. And the event is Maybe Midrash, which takes place in May. That's an event that Jason from Old Blues Chapter and Verse and Felicia from the Little Prairie Library and Rick McDonnell host. And it's a event devoted to books about religion that engage in some way with religion. And in order to participate, you need to read a fiction book and a non-fiction book. And I want to participate because it's an event that I really love. So I will be reading a non-fiction book for Maybe Midrash. One non-fiction book for Maybe Midrash. And then the other exception is that I can still buddy read non-fiction books. And I already have some non-fiction books for Buddy Reads already scheduled. I'm still working on the collected essays of Thoreau with Sharon Goforth. So I will be getting a little bit of nonfiction in my reading this year, which will probably be necessary because, like I said, nonfiction is sort of my natural habitat, and so there is a chance that reading nothing but made-up stories will kind of drive me insane. And there have been a couple of people who commented on my videos where I've mentioned the possibility of my doing this project, that they've said that that's an insane idea, and it probably is, but, you know, that's kind of the point. So, reading nothing but fiction in 2022, that feels like the big event of the year. I'm really excited about it. It's off to a great start. I read some good stuff early in the year. I won't talk about it now, but I will be making videos about it. So, there's that. The other big, sort of less big, but still probably sizable project for me this year is that I want to read through this entire box set of the selected works of Samuel Beckett. So this is 4 volumes, and you get to see his lovely face on the spines. But it's 4 volumes. 2 of them are his fiction, I believe. One of them is a bunch of his plays, and then another one is short fiction plus poetry, plus some of his nonfiction. And I guess that will be another small exception to my only fiction rule, because I'll be reading the nonfiction that's in here. But there are only a couple of essays in here by Beckett that are nonfiction, so it's not like I'll be reading whole books of nonfiction or something in this. It'll just be little pieces. But this is another project I want to really dive into this year. And the reason for this is because Samuel Beckett is my favorite writer, and I feel like I should try to get a really more thorough sense of his work. I've read a lot of books by him, but not everything. And I don't even think everything of his work is in this box set. I think it is only a selection. But it's pretty much everything that he is known for. Waiting for Godot, Endgame, Happy Days, the trilogy he wrote, the trilogy of novels he wrote, How It Is, his poetry, so on. Pretty much all of his major works are in here, and I would just like to get a more thorough immersion into his work. And it will also be a great opportunity to reread some of his works that I have not revisited since I read them for the first time. And so that will be quite fun. I'm excited. It's daunting. It's a lot. You know, there's a lot in here. A lot of Beckett's fiction especially is not a walk in the park, shall we say. Some of it is rather experimental and modernist and difficult. But the ones that will be rereads, at least, I hope will be a little bit easier than they were the first time. We will see. This might be another project that ends up driving me insane, but this is something where if I don't accomplish it, I won't be super hung up, but I'm excited about it. So that's another personal project. The last sort of personal project that involves just myself and hopefully a video I'm going to make is I'm going to be doing in this year a little, what I'm just calling for now, my Macbeth project, Macbeth by William Shakespeare. So a new film adaptation of Macbeth just came out. It's called The Tragedy of Macbeth. It's directed by Joel Cohen, who is one half of the Coen brothers, who now are not working together anymore. I know it's crazy. The Coen brothers aren't working together anymore. That's, like, just insane. But, so, The Tragedy of Macbeth is a new adaptation of the Shakespeare play, directed by Joel Cohen by himself. And I haven't seen it yet. I want to. It's been getting great reviews. It looks beautiful. Sounds like Denzel Washington is superb as Macbeth, and Frances McDormand is in it, and it just sounds great. And so, because of that, to kind of commemorate it, I am going to watch the new film adaptation, and then I'm going to watch a number of other film adaptations. So there's the Orson Welles one, there's the Roman Polanski one, and there's the Justin Kurzel one, and so that'll be 4 plus the Joel Cohen one. And I'm not going to include Akira Kurosawa's Throne of Blood. That's an adaptation of Macbeth where it's transplanted into medieval Japan. And the reason I'm not doing that is because it's not a direct adaptation. It's a free adaptation, so it's not like they translated Shakespeare into Japanese and then just put it in a new setting. They just rewrote a whole new screenplay. So I'm not including that, but I want to watch the 4 adaptations, reread the play, and then just make a video talking and chatting about them all. Because Macbeth is one of my favorite works of literature ever, and it's probably my 2nd or 3rd favorite Shakespeare play. I think I put it at number 3 in my ranking of Shakespeare plays, but it kind of can sort of shift around. Those top 3 Shakespeare plays, Hamlet, King Lear, and Macbeth, for me, tend to shift around a lot. For a long time, Macbeth was my absolute favorite Shakespeare play, but Hamlet has overtaken it. So anyway, the Macbeth project. That will be one video, so it won't be a big deal, but I want to do it. And then, last affair that involves basically my channel, but will also involve you all, I hope, or some of you, obviously, is that I really want to do a solo read-along on my channel. A lot of booktubers will do read-alongs with other booktubers, which is great. I love those. I love doing them. I love experiencing them, watching them. But then booktubers will also do read-alongs that they host by themselves, basically, where they read the book and they make maybe 4 videos on different chunks of the book and invite people to read along as they're reading and making the videos. And I've never done that before. I've never done a read-along like that by myself. It's always been with other people, which, again, is fine. I love doing that. But I would like the experience of doing it by myself. And so I want to do that at some point this year. I don't know when. And more importantly, I don't know what to do a read-along of yet. And I need to come up with some process of deciding what to do the read-along of. I would love to involve you all in the decision. I would love to get your input on what to read. But I don't want to just send out a blanket question asking, what do you want me to do a read-along of? Because I'll probably get 100 different answers from 100 different people. But I need a list for people to choose from, for people to vote on. So you'll probably be hearing from me in community posts at least about that as I try to decide what to read. But I want to do a read-along, and I think that should be fun. But I don't know when. Probably summer months, I would say, is the best bet. But we will see. So that's the last affair that involves myself alone with no other booktubers. The last part of this video will be about events that I am hosting with other people. And there are no new events I'm hosting, so I have Sagalong, which is an event devoted to the Icelandic sagas. And I host that with a bunch of other booktubers. I couldn't possibly remember all of them off the top of my head, but it was spearheaded by Elena Macredina, and Mark Richardson is in on it. Steve Donahue has been a co-host. Scott Danielson, Dario from Motley Reads, oh boy, and a lot of other people. I'm sorry, there's no possible way I can remember everyone, so I'm sorry to my fellow hosts who might be watching. But I hosted it with a lot of other people, and last year we read Njál's Saga, which is this long, epic saga, and that was awesome. It was great. We all had a lot of fun. It was a great book. And so I'm going to be hosting it again. It takes place in April. And I think we're close to deciding what we're going to do this year. We haven't set it in stone yet, but I think we're pretty close to deciding, which is exciting. And there will be announcement videos, as always, so you'll find out what's going on in the announcement video from me and from my fellow hosts. So, Sagalong is a host that an event that I'm hosting. The other event that I co-host is March of the Mammoth, and that takes place in March, and I host it with Jason from Old Blues Chapter and Verse and Alex from Big Al Books, and that is an event devoted to reading books that we call mammoths, books that are 800 pages or longer, sort of in the similar vein as like Tome Topple, where they read 500 plus page books, but with the idea being that an 800 plus page book is kind of a step above the 500 page mark. 500 pages is a long book, but it's not that extra bit of length where the book just feels really epic, you know what I mean? And so that's what March of the Mammoth is about. And so I'll be reading something. I know what I'm reading, and I guess I can tell you what I'm reading. I'm going to be reading Life and Fate by Vasily Grossman, which you all actually voted for me to read last year. I did the Mooks and Gripes bucket list book tag, in which I talked about some books on my bucket list, and then asked you all to vote on which of the books that I put on my bucket list I should read in the new year and then review. And it was Vasily Grossman's Life and Fate that won. So I'll be reading that for March of the Mammoth. And again, you'll be seeing announcement videos from myself and the other hosts, so, you know, you don't need to remember all this or anything. But so that's the other event. Then the last event is also an event that is very close to my heart because I sort of co-founded it with a booktuber who doesn't make videos anymore, but that's Shake-tember, formerly Shake-tube, and that takes place in September, hence the name. And I will be hosting that once again with Jason from Old Blues Chapter and Verse and Rainy from Rainy Day Reads, and I am pumped about that every year. I love Shake-tember. I obviously am biased, but it is my favorite event, I think, in BookTube, except for maybe Nonfiction November, I don't know. But what we did last year for Shake-tember was the 3 hosts read 4 plays in the 4 weeks of September, and then made recorded Zoom discussions of each play. The 3 of us did, and that was just a blast. I really hope we do it like that again. I don't know if we will. We will talk about it, and once again, there will, of course, be announcement videos, usually in August. So that's the last event that I have on my docket. But so that's my sort of wool gathering, sort of planning for the new year. I hope some of this sounds interesting to you. Obviously, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on anything I've said throughout the videos, so please comment. We can have a conversation. And anyway, here's to a good new year of reading. So anyway, I will leave it at that, and I will be seeing you soon in another video. Bye, guys.